Good evening and welcome to our final edition of the Dancer Perspective, which is a special dance talk series led by our own Houston Ballet dancers. So we're so glad to see you once again in this digital format. Tonight's topic is going to be 50 years of creativity and new works, which is really timely for us and a real priority in our 50th anniversary celebration this past season. So just a little bit of how tonight's going to go. We'll start off with some discussion led by soloist Harper Watters. And we also have some questions that many of you submitted previously, so we'll try to answer some of those throughout our discussion. If at any time during this evening you'd like to submit a question, please feel free to type that in using the chat feature, and we'll see if we have time to answer some of those as well. We do ask that you please keep your microphone on mute throughout the discussion. It really helps us with sound quality and to make sure that we can hear the panelists as they speak. You also have the option to switch your view between gallery view or speaker view, depending on how many faces you see during our discussion tonight. So those are my housekeeping issues, and clearly I'm having Zoom issues, but I will turn it on over to Harper, who will introduce our panel of dancers.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see your faces, and welcome to Dancer Perspective, 50 Years of Creativity and New Works. I'm joined by three of my coworkers and friends from the company who I will let introduce themselves. So if you wouldn't mind telling us your name, your rank, and to stay on topic, what has been your favorite new creation that you've been a part of at Houston Ballet? So I'll start with the ladies, and I think that is Miss Jacquelyn.
Oh, hey everybody, I'm Jacquelyn Long. I'm a soloist with Houston Ballet, and okay, so I guess my favorite new work, I think is probably the most recent works actually we've done. Sylvia by Stan Welch was super fun, and also getting to do Oklahoma with Tuts. So, like, that was something that I don't think as a ballet dancer I'll ever get to really be involved in a musical theater. And also Sylvia was really inventive and creative and a story that I wasn't familiar with, and he took it to another level. So I think just learning that and studying a little bit of history, well, not history. So yeah, those are my two faves.
Amazing. Should we go by age? So next would be
I'm leaving.
We have, let's go to our next international panelist. Is he here?
Hi, everyone. Can you see me, Harper?
Yes.
It's Josh Guillemont-Rodgerson here. I am a quarter ballet dancer in the company, and I'm currently in New Zealand, so it's daytime, which is crazy, at an airport, so I apologize if any weird noise comes through. And my favorite new works, I completely forgot about Oklahoma. That was awesome. Now that Oliver's on the call, I have to say his premiere of Following this year, which was seriously extremely fun. And also Pretty Things, which we haven't premiered yet, but that process was just so cool, and Trey really had like a big family environment going. So those are mine.
And I think last but certainly not least, we have in true Houston Ballet form a solid second cast to the panel today.
Always second cast.
Coming from you from Florida, we have.
I am Oliver Halkowich. I'm sorry if you folks have heard me talk before on a Zoom call, but I am here again. I am doing a little filling in tonight. But what is my favorite thing that we've done? My people. No, I will say, and I wouldn't usually do this because I'm humble sometimes, but I do. It was really special for me. I've been a company member with Houston Ballet for 18 years, and to make a new dance on our company of people that I love and respect was super special for me in our 50th anniversary season. So I will put that out there. That was a game changer for me. But we are putting really important work out these days, and I've gotten to be a part of some of it, and it's exciting. So That's me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to pick your brains on some things. In preparation for this talk, I kind of quickly realized that and even now with Oliver, I realized that me and Jacquelyn and Oliver, this 50th season, although all created on the company, 25% I'd say was going to be new, like freshly new for us, new moves, new music. And 75% I'd say would be a return of work that is familiar to us. We might have been in the studio or in the company, danced it. But for Josh, who is newer, I'd say this entire season, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, was going to be all new work for you. And so I was wondering, I mean, like your first time experiencing it. So I was wondering, Josh, if you could talk about the differences in the process of learning a ballet that's already been made, and then the process of a world premiere with creating fresh new movement.
Yes, definitely. Everything was brand new for me this year. I think, yeah, even the New York tour was like only just a little bit into last season. So the whole thing has been brand new. I always really like the world premieres. I feel like it's cool to start from scratch. For me, I feel like I have a lot more confidence when there isn't a preconceived expectation of what something should look like. I feel that I often come into learning a piece that's already been done by the amazing dancers of our company that I have a lot to live up to. So I find myself maybe more comfortable when it's brand new, but at the same time, having the experience of everyone else and the expertise, I feel like I can improve a lot when the dancers that have done the work are able to help me and coach me through it. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think, I mean, in my experience, when you have a ballet that's already been done, at least there's a bit of like structure to it that you're like, okay, maybe I've heard this music before. Maybe I've heard the opinions of the dancers who have done it before, and you can navigate that. But when it's a world premiere, you're like, I'm so excited to put my stamp on it, but it's also like, kind of like I'm jumping into the deep end. I don't really know what it's going to be like. You know, I'm just going through my notes. I don't know if I mentioned that the 50th anniversary season this year, in me asking Josh that question, the new creation has been a driving force in the mission of Houston Ballet over many, many years, which is why every single ballet this season was either going to be created on the company or was going to be new. So that's why I just was curious. But actually one of the ballets that Josh it was going to be new too for Josh, and a revisit for me and Oliver and Jacquelyn was going to be Giselle. Giselle, we actually consider the Houston Ballet Foundation to be the first performance of the company. So a bit of information. The first performance featured Carla Fracci and Eric Brun, and our director Stanton Welsh created his own version in 2016, which I'm sure all of you saw when it debuted and opened this season. And so I'm curious, Miss Jacquelyn, this will be started with you. What challenges do you think there are in reinventing classics? Like, and why do you think it is important for companies to have their own telling of classic ballets? Is it necessary to put your own footprint on it, or do you not think it's important? So I'm just curious about the classical work.
Well, definitely. So I was a part of the original process of when we created Giselle with Stanton, and it's always been a super challenging ballet for any ballet dancer. When it was originally choreographed, I did a lot of understudying, and only recently, like this past season, I got to do some more soloist work, and I got to be Mirta, the queen of the Willies in the second act. And so with that being said, Stanton recreating this version that he made for Houston Ballet for the company, he made a lot of things even more challenging than they are in just the original setting. he used all of the music. So Mirta's solo in the beginning of the second act is even longer. Well, it's even longer than most versions, which the versions that we were doing previously, it's longer. So, and it was originally choreographed on Cape Precourt, and I felt like, okay, like I had a big staircase to climb to be able to perform that role. And I think that is what is important about keeping new creations going, is you have to keep challenging the dancer, and Stanton did a very good job of challenging us in that solo. It's extremely difficult. You do everything from adagio to big jumps. So I would say, I mean, it's very important to continue that creation, because you're continuing elevating the company with their level of technique as it grows, just with times.
Totally. I'm just curious, for all three of you, do you think you prefer a contemporary new work process or a classical new work process? Just off the top of your head, it doesn't have to.
I will talk.
Yeah.
I was thinking about about Josh's situation with being young and working, in like a lot of new ballets that you've never done before. And when I joined the company, I feel like I thrived in pieces that I had seen before. So I think that, I don't know, Josh, I mean, it's harder. Like, don't you think it's harder to not know what you're doing and to be a young dancer and to be like, I'm going to try this? Like that was, I feel like where I was able to excel was, I'd be like, I had seen that piece in the school and then I can put my stamp on it. I think it's amazing that dancers now there's more new work that you're putting your own stamp on new work. But I think I wouldn't have done as well with that. I don't know. I was thinking about that when you were talking.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question at all, Harper, sorry. And I like that I get to point at my squares on my computer. I like that too.
I feel like there's so much emphasis in training now, and I even see it a little bit in Houston Ballet Academy on improv and learning how to improvise and be an asset in a new creation. My training certainly is a lot more contemporary, and I feel like a lot of new choreographers come in and make a contemporary piece. So I think maybe that's why I feel slightly more comfortable in that situation. But I do feel, because sometimes I'll give, not to like plug myself, but like an improv class for a lot of the younger a lot of the younger dancers in the company come to me and they're like, can we improv? Can we do this on the weekend? And yeah, I feel like that might be a more recent change. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm interested in that, and I'm always like, in going back to the contemporary process and the classical process, for me, oftentimes it's the music that has the biggest effect on the process. And we're very lucky to have a director that's a choreographer, not just a full lengths, but one acts as well. And so as dancers in the company, all four of us were constantly involved in a creation process at one point in our rehearsal day. But one act ballets sometimes for me are tougher, because I think just like the movement, the music is usually unfamiliar and abstract, whereas going back to Giselle, we've grown up with that music, pre-ballet, Swan Lake, Romeo and Juliet, that are more of Stanton's reinventions. And that movement.
If you do the new classical work, you still have something in your head.
Yeah, you're still following.
Even if you don't know, Stanton walks in the room and he's doing a new Giselle solo, you don't know what that solo is going to look like, but you know what the music's going to be. That I have to come at it with turnout and come on. And you walk into a contemporary we started with Trey, and you have no idea what it's going to look like. You don't know, do I come at it classically? Do I come at it more grounded? It's like,
Yeah, I think that's definitely, I think that's why for me, contemporary just opens like that field of what it could be and the possibilities. And when you're given that wider range of what you can do, you know, you can do something turned in, you can do something in a flat shoe pleat, like you have more range to work in. And I think for me, that's more fun for a new creation. Obviously, I fell in love with ballet. That's why I'm a ballet dancer. So the classicals works always have a place in my heart. But I think the possibilities of a contemporary work is definitely more exciting.
And
You know,
also that first day of the contemporary work is so interesting because you just don't know. You know, Justin Peck, you don't know. You know, Trey, you don't know. Azure, you don't know. You don't know what it's going to be.
Totally. And I think, you know, my next note was going to be for Bridget, so it's going to be directed to you, Oliver. But you know, speaking of music, I was in my notes, I was saying that Bridget is someone who I would say is very savvy when it comes to counting music. She's sort of like the go-to person, you know, like what count is this, or like how are you counting? She's kind of like there to help us guide us when we're struggling to pick up counts. And so moving into the new and contemporary works, I'm wondering if Oliver, you want to talk about how music plays a part in new creation. You know, the letter V was going to be on this season. We took it to New York. It was created earlier this season, and Mark was, you know, the music was with him at every step of the way, right? Every step was dictated by one note on the page, whereas Azure was that she had the music in mind, but she was so influenced by the dancer and who was in front of her. And I would say that that connection was a bit more of a priority than, say, music. So if you just want to talk about how music plays a part in new creation and how much do you think the dancer does?
I mean, getting back to a classical piece of music that as dancers we've been all listening to forever, there's something preordained in there that we almost all listen to it the same way. Even if you've learned a different version of Odette's solo, you know, we've all listened to that music and we all kind of emphasize it the same way. You walk into a rehearsal with a new choreographer with new music, I don't know how they're listening to that music. You know, it's like if I've made a dance and I've been listening to music for 6 months, I've been listening to it one way, and I know that when I try to translate that to a dancer, they might hear it completely different, and they're hearing it for the first time. So it's interesting how we all, even if we're all musical, how we all listen to music different. So it's a challenge because I think, you know, you tell a dancer, I want this on this note or whatever. And you're like, well, I don't, you know, sometimes Stanton will be this sound. And I'll be like, wait, what sound was that? Was that
exactly
that sound or this sound? You know, I don't know, because he's been listening to that forever. You know, it is interesting. And you got to pick that up quick as a dancer.
Going off of what you're saying about music and kind of just learning steps that are given, would you say that, and this can be for everybody, would you say that when you know the counts solidly, that, you know, they're like ingrained in you, I know this move is on that, is that the point you say, okay, I'm in this and I can kind of like build my character, or I'm more comfortable? Or are you more of a dancer or approach it more like, once I have the steps in my body, then I can start to focus on the music? Because I would say I like the structure of the music. I want to know the music. And when I know that in my brain, then I'm like, okay, I need to do that leg there, that arm there. But there are people who really work, like, I'm not really thinking about the music. I want to do the movement in my body and get it in, and then I'll apply it to the music. So I'm curious if maybe we start with Josh, where you are in that process.
I think I'm with you, Harper. I definitely feel like I can't get a sense of freedom into my dancing until I just know the music like the back of my hand. I think especially we've worked with some really hard music since I've been here, probably all the time, certainly since I've been here. And definitely that way. How do you guys feel, Jack and Oliver?
I would say it's different for every kind of piece of work that we do. I think for something just off like something like Sylvia, it's quite a lyrical score. And that's when I'll say to Harper, who I usually partner with, on the da 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 da, like, and I don't but he knows exactly what I'm saying. It's like our own little secret.
Jack loves the da 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 da.
Oh, I do, everyone. But then on the contrary, when we're doing something like Rite of Spring, those are counts that if you don't count the entire ballet Stravinsky score, you are going to get lost and people are going to know, because it's one. We count that ballet the way Stan's done it. It's 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Like it's very, and that'll change throughout the whole score, and it's not even, and it's not a solid 8 like normal. And in that ballet, you have to learn the movements to the counts, but something more free with it, that you can really recognize each phrase of the music. It's less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is not freeing as a dancer, I think. I mean, there are pieces that you have to count like that, right? Like, and Azure Barton pieces like that too. We've done 2 of her works, and she's very methodical about counting, but it's hard. It's like you have to do it, but it's hard to also release those counts and then dance, because you get it so ingrained that on 3, I'm doing this, step like this, and you can't let go of the 3 and just do the step. So, I mean, at least for me, I've always struggled with that, the counting.
Do you guys count? Do you guys find that you count on stage? Because I feel like when I don't have to, I don't.
I've started to, but I think it's because I'm older. I just like to count my steps. Like, how long am I going?
I think that I would like to get to a place where I don't have to count on stage. And that's when I know that I'm really in it. But I have definitely been known to count on stage and also scream counts at other people.
Oh, yeah.
To keep them.
During Indigo,
Harper will remind you if you are on the wrong count.
there was a part on Indigo this year in the 50th gala that I did with Harper, and I would get really into it and I would not count. I was just like in the movement, and I was like, Harper, I'm going to be on stage and I'm going to be into it. I'm going to be like 50th gala. Will you count for me? Because in this certain moment, we had to reach around to a kind of difficult lift. So I made him count for me there, because I was like, I'm not going.
That's what a good partner does.
Yes.
He lets you live your best life while he's going 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think I've been in HB2 with Jack since 2010.
Years ago.
2010.
Yeah.
And so, we know each other very, very well. We dance a lot together. And what's really funny is this creation process when you're in the studio, you rely so much on the choreographer in front of the room, but navigating counts and who you're dancing with is part of it too. And on the side, there's lots of conversations of, so how are you going to do this? Or what do you want to do with this move? And are you going to do this? And going back to Indigo, which was created on the company by Stan, and we just, like Jack was saying, we did for the gala, we would have these conversations on the side where I'm like, Jacquelyn, okay, what are you gonna do on this part? And when are you gonna give me your hand? How are you gonna bend? And we have these detailed conversations. And one thing about Jack, if you see her eyebrow go up, that means that she is about to forget everything and just live on stage. And I will never forget running out on stage, because she gives you this look. The eyebrow was up, and I was like, okay, Harper, count.
I just imagine you running back off stage when you see the eyebrow and you just beeline back off.
Yeah, if you see the eyebrow, you're, going back to Josh and talking about difficult music. We had a world premiere by Justin Peck, and I think this was one of the submitted questions in that I got in for this discussion. And we did that last season, and we just took it to New York to rave reviews, I might add. But it featured not only new moves and new steps for the world premiere, but it also featured, new music that was original to that ballet. It was an original score for that piece. And I think adding new elements beyond just dance is one of the ways I've seen new choreography evolve over the years. It's not just about the steps, it's how can we make this even more of a collaborative project. So I'm curious, this can be for everybody, maybe start with Oliver, who's done a piece with you know, in this era right now, new work. What other ways have you noticed a change in new creation over the years, and any thoughts on what influences that?
I mean, I do think that, I mean, maybe other people disagree, but that all the steps have been used, right? All the ballet steps, all the dance steps have been used. So we're just kind of moving those steps around. But I do think, sorry, I mean, I do. I mean, you can pretend like you're making up new moves. Let me see them. But I do think that it is now about collaboration, which it always has been about collaboration, right? Balanchine was collaborating, Jerome Robbins was collaborating. So that's not new, but it is about who can I work with in this time with new music. I think that what people are doing with lighting and sets and turning the theater experience into something more attainable to an audience, you know, that it's not just I go to the theater and it you know, I watch this, the curtain goes up and there's a blue cyc and that's it. You know, it's like, how do I feel like I'm in it? That what is that called? Experiential theater or something. But there are new exciting ways of that happening. And I think that's where dance is going, is it's making it more, you know, accessible is a silly word, but like something that feels, I don't know, something new and relates to people. But I don't know. That's what I think.
Any other thoughts?
I mean, I just think with with all the times, like there are gonna be new things that need to be shared and represented on the stage, and I think that I think that's just a big, you know, it goes with the times. We were doing, you know, these tutu ballets way back in the day, and then, you know, you have different eras of what that is, and like Oliver said, it's not necessarily it's probably been done before, but it's I think representing your time in like is what is important about new creations. You're representing your time, you're representing even just your time technically in ballet. You know, you look at the difference between the early 1900s to the late to like now, and you just see this much more flexible physical ballet dancer that's muscularly just like very very different than before. And I think, you know, there aren't new steps, but you're never going to have the same people in the same room, and you're always going to have something new to say on the stage, I think.
Yeah.
In a different way.
Yeah. Anything to add, Josh?
No, I feel like I completely agree. I feel like the dancer is becoming more and more required to be so versatile and to know how to move on the floor and to pop and lock in places. There's like hip hop coming in, and I feel like everything's kind of coming together, and probably has been for a long time. But yeah, I feel like that even the idea of having like moments on the stage that are improvised is like so in at the moment too, stuff that the audience can experience that's happening in the moment, which can feel just even more alive. It's less rehearsed, but maybe more rehearsed because you know, it's so structured, the improv. And yeah, but agree with everything for sure.
Yeah,
it seems like the dancer as a person is being more represented by choreographers. Like the choreographers, I feel like come and work with us, look at you as a person, and then create akin to that, rather than just what your talent is as a dancer. You know, like it's not just about, oh well, she's a turner, so let me, you know, make this solo turns. You know, I've gotten to know her, and she's quiet, or she's I don't know, like there's just like you get to see more humanity being put into dance by choreographers, especially because a lot of the choreographers we work with, you get to know, and you learn something about the person and you interject that into the dance, which maybe has always been there, but I'm experiencing that more.
I think that we live in an age right now where people are, because of social media perhaps, that they are itching to always know what your thoughts are. What are you trying to say? What are you thinking? And they are looking for your nuances so that when paired with their choreography, they can say something, right? Like through their movement or through their dancing. But just to kind of go back to new ways that choreography is kind of coming up. Recently, Jack mentioned that Sylvia and our 50th anniversary gala projections have been utilized to amplify and enhance the dance experience and storytelling. And I really believe, it was probably a natural progression, seeing how much of an impact digital world in this era has on everything. So I was curious, speaking of digital, I'm sure all of you listening have been following. I hope you have been following us on social media, and seeing how we've been having to adapt creatively to new creation on our digital platforms to our, and adapting to our current circumstances. So I was wondering if you all wanted to touch on what has it been like taking the new creation process and putting it at home, and what skills from new creation in the studio are you pulling from and relying on as you create at home?
Go, Josh.
Josh, if you have to dip, if your flight is off,
he's like, I'm just listening to if they're calling my name. Boarding group 2.
I will politely dip when I have to, but I'm good for now.
Good.
Online's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's so Zoom rehearsals.
Yes.
There's always a lag in the sound. I feel like the music is especially a challenge because you're trying to interpret where exactly you're supposed to be dancing. But I feel like a lot of the skills that we're using in new creations are helping, because the dance is being required to create some steps, to put something out there. Like constantly you might fall in rehearsal or muck up and they'll be like, that's what I want now, So I feel they always take those little accidents, and I feel like having to have a voice in a process is helping me figure out how to interpret things with my mic off, and and to set up a camera shot and things like that. Like it's so much more than just repeating a step in the studio and on Zoom, I feel. Do you guys agree?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we're all going to be better dancers after this, because we're having to understand what is in the foreground, what is in the background, like what makes the shot interesting. Like we're all looking at our screens and looking at dance and figuring out how it all works when you're trying to edit whatever you're doing together, right? Like I'm putting a Houston Ballet at home thing of myself doing yoga, but you're looking at that and you're like, well, that doesn't read because the dog is in the shot, or the dog is the star of the show, right? But it's like, I think we're all kind of looking at dance and art and all of it differently now, maybe, right? Yeah. We're just like, our viewpoint is like a little broader than it used to be, where it was just myself dancing.
Yeah, we suddenly have to see the big picture.
We're all like directors now.
Directors,
which helps as a ballet dancer. It helps to expand your periphery as a dancer, and that's helped me as a choreographer. It helped me choreographing as a dancer.
Yeah, and I think just we've had to be more verbal than we generally would in the studio. Usually you can
talking,
but on Zoom and limited, some laptops don't tilt. You have to ask certain questions that you would never have to ask in the studio. So I think the communication between the choreographers and dancers is just different, and that will create something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about how you know, when the choreographer in a new creation says do something, we're tasked as the dancer to make a choice of how we're going to do it. And that can be difficult sometimes how are you going to put your arm out? How are you going to take that step? And when we're given a task now to do at home, I'm having to use a different sense of creativity of how am I going to show this moment? How am I going to show my thought still through my body as I'm dancing, but you know, the angle or the lighting or the timing, or you're playing with how the camera shots, and it's testing my ability to make choices creatively.
I think we're making choices now that
yeah.
we, you know, because you can't ask all the questions. You can't be like, wait, is my left finger, you know, here? You just have to make a choice. And I think that's good, right? There's only so much time on the Zoom, you know? So make a choice.
So clearly I think that or at least I see that the content that Houston Ballet has been putting out has been so unique and so a testament really to the hunger and mentality of our company's dancers to make it work, and to you know, I think it's a humble brag, but you know, we are always told as dancers here at this company that choreographers love to work with us and that they love to return to make pieces on us. And I think that what you're seeing on our social media platforms is a testament to that, because we are hungry to make it work. We are hungry to say, okay, you're giving us this challenge, and here we are, we're going to meet the challenge. I don't think we necessarily needed the challenge maybe of a pandemic, but you know, we are making do with that. So that's kind of all I really had as far as planned questions. I didn't know if I have some saved. I don't know if you want to open it up to the chat, but yeah, that's really what I have planned so far, because I think right now we're in a digital era. We are making at-home content, and that brings us to the present. So if anybody has any questions from the chat, I think we'd love to answer those.
So there's a couple on here, Harper.
Okay. Do I can ask them?
You can absolutely, because you should be able to see them.
Okay.
If you want to go through them.
Let me dig in. I'm just gonna go from the first one I see, and it says, if you have any time, which we apparently do. Here's another question. Oliver, when you choreograph, do you create it all in advance and then make changes as you rehearse with your dancers, or do you do it with the dancers in front of you and try different things?
I would say usually it helps me to come up with like 8 counts of material, just so I don't walk in the room and have nothing, because there's nothing worse than walking into the room and being like, so, and then you don't come up with anything. So 8 counts is helpful. After that, I think hopefully on a good day you get into a flow, and I want it to look like the dancer's choreography, or the dancer dancing, and not my choreography. So I hope that I get something from them, and I usually do. So that's my answer.
I will say that.
You disagree with that?
Well, I was going to say, having been a part of your creation process, that Oliver has an incredibly elaborate, and I'm actually I'm honored when he comes in and thinks that we can do what he wants us to do, because it starts at like a 15 out of 10. But, you know, aim big. And then the process of, he kind of says, can you do a backflip and land on one foot and then shimmy and do a flat ball change? And I'm like, I can do that.
That was a real combination, folks.
And I'm like, I can do a flat ball change and mimic the backflip. But just in speaking to that, you come in with an idea, and sometimes it's more elaborate, sometimes it's less elaborate, but that kind of, I think, speaks to the dialogue that we were talking about, of making a choice, like how can I help you facilitate your vision, and what guidance can you give me to help better do it?
Yeah, because I mean, in a choreographer's head, when they're not doing it, you can do a backflip that lands on one leg and then a flap all change that goes into an aerial. You know, and working with Trey recently, he was like that. It was literally like a backflip going into an aerial. And then you kind of, the dancer and the choreographer have this like do-si-do, and then you come up with like a half backflip. But it's that give and take that makes it interesting, I think.
Totally. Moving on. So when you audition for the company, do you have to show contemporary dancing as well as traditional moves? Jack, do you want to take this one?
I got in the company through HB2, so I had to do a whole diverse rep. I had to do Stanton's rep, but I feel like Josh did an open audition, so maybe he can.
I did. Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. It's a hard audition. It's really hard. So yeah, I auditioned in New York, and I want to say it was maybe like 6 or 7 hours, something crazy like that. And you do your ballet. We learned, I think at the time you guys were doing the Hans van Manen piece, and we learned some of that very quickly, lots of details. Then we had to improv, and we also had to act, which was, I didn't have to do that in any of my other auditions. So that was crazy, but fun. So yeah, it's hard, but yeah, super diverse, because the company does a huge diverse rep, so it makes sense.
I definitely think I only auditioned when I was in the second company. It was required for us to take the company audition with everybody who was auditioning from outside. And I would say that it really is just a pressure cooker of what to expect when you join this company. There's a step called a double tour that men have to do. And you normally, in other ballet companies, you have to do it just to your good side. And you are expected to do your double tours to both sides, right and left, and make them solid. And when there's a rep point where you have to pick up choreography, and it's fast, and we move fast, and that I think is a testament and speaks to the quality we put on stage, because we pick up things fast and have more time to then develop it. And you have to learn your choreography very, very fast in that rehearsal to execute it. And I would say that it's almost more important to show, even if you're making a mistake, how you cope with making that mistake and what you learn from getting the corrections in that process.
Harper, I'm so sorry, but I actually have to go now. So
Safe
I love
flight,
you all.
Josh.
And thanks everyone
have a good flight, Josh.
I will. Thank you guys. And take care, everyone. Thank you for having me.
We'll hold it down without you, okay?
Hold down the fort.
Yes.
See you all soon, I hope.
Bye, Josh. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Now that he's gone. No, I'm kidding. We could continue with just a few more questions. Oh, this is interesting. Speaking about the 50th anniversary season, can you please tell us anything about the new works we didn't get to see this season? And they said, so sad and can't wait to be back safely and see them then. Jack, do you want to maybe?
Yeah, so there was an all boys piece that I got to sit out front and watch that was done by Trey that has not been premiered yet, and hopefully it will be, but I got to be an audience member for it, and you guys, it is so fun. You have to go. You have to come and see it when we do it. They advertised it. It's to Bowie music, and it is awesome. So when we do that, I'm not sure when, but it was a real bummer that you guys couldn't see that. And the boys, they look so good. I literally was like, out in the audience, and I cannot wait for that. I think we were also going to do a new piece by Arthur Pita. I don't know when that will happen. That probably is what we need funding for, honestly, because new works, that's going to be a part of our that's going to be a part of our loss with our budget and everything. And so we need you guys to be here with us, because, you know, it's such a crucial part of defining a company for each year that you go through. So hopefully Trey's gets on. Hopefully we get to work with Arthur sometime soon. I've met him. He's lovely. I've seen his pieces. They're amazingly creative. So I want to know what he's going to choreograph for Houston one day. And we have so much more to create, and we have such a great group right now of dancers. And I'm sad, and I miss everyone too, and I can't wait till we can be back.
Yeah, and you know, just to jump off that, you know, in saying how important new creation is for our organization and why we chose to celebrate it this year with it being our 50th anniversary. One of the last questions that I got, and maybe we can end with this, was they just asked, what can art and dance offer in the pursuit of a better world? And, you know, obviously the temperature in the world right now is very uncertain. And what I will try to attempt in answering that is saying that when a choreographer steps into the studio, or say an artist who steps in front of a canvas, photographer behind a camera, I think the first thing they do is they're trying to say, what am I trying to say? What's my thought? And when you see the final product, that is a thought. That is, they said something. It might be ongoing. It might be with a period, but we're all asking ourselves, what are we trying to say right now, and how are we going to say it? And I think that dance, I think that ballet, I think that art is an extremely powerful vehicle to use to say that, to say, what am I trying to say? And art is how you're going to say it. And we want to celebrate that here at Houston Ballet. We're going to continue to celebrate it. That's what new work and new creation means to us. And we have more to say. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about, you know, our company has been really uniting right now in the effort to move forward with action regarding everything that is taking place, taking place right now. And it is such a privilege, I'd say, to be a part of this company and to have the support of all of you here watching. And it gives us hope to, you know, hold on to our kitchen counter and keep doing the Zoom ballet classes, because we're gonna be back creating, and we're gonna be back because we have things to say, we have new ideas to say. And I'll end it there. I wanted to say thank you to Oliver and thank you to Jacquelyn, and thank you to Josh. Hopefully he's boarded safely. And thank you for all of you for watching. I also would love to give a special shout out to my dad, who is watching.
David Waters just gave a thumbs up.
My dad
Oh,
is
and Mom is there too.
My mom and dad are here. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I mean, I hope that we see each other soon, and if not, we see each other like this, but we'll find a way to keep supporting each other. So big love to everybody, and thank you for joining us.
Is this where we
Harper?
Thank you all. Thank you. Be safe.
I hope I was a good Bridget.
It's okay. I don't know if you'll be cast next time, but thank you so much for joining.
Oh,
good seeing you, Jack. Bye, everyone.
Bye,
everyone.
Celebrating 50 with us.